But first, let's see if we can pull this off. I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. Are you going to switch to the camera then?
No.
We have to do this from the top, though, again, right?
Okay, we're going to try it again. Here we go.
No, I'm going to switch it when
This isn't live, though, right?
No.
Okay.
No, we're off air.
Okay, good.
Good. I got a lot of cursing to do. I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
In Cruton.
We did it. It's This Week in Cruton with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at Next Level D1. Powers, how are you?
Great. Glad to be here. Glad to be back in action. Football is coming back to Texas.
Football's on its way back. We are 5 days away from the strength and conditioning workouts.
Right.
So that is very good. Yes, football is on its way back. Everybody, please. That's not an excuse to not be safe.
Accurate.
You. That's right. I'm talking to you, person. I'm looking at the camera.
I would actually make the argument that it's the time to be
Extra
safer.
Safest.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the
We
time
all
to be
said a
safer.
different word.
Let's show the world that we can welcome back football in Texas and get back out on the field this fall.
Exactly.
We all need it.
Yes.
Powers
My God,
speaking
we
the truth.
need it. Yes. Okay. So it's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. A lot to get to in this week's tour. We will start with our prospect on the rise. Starting with our prospect on the rise, go to Frisco. 2022 Frisco high offensive tackle Cole Houston. Cole Houston picked up an offer. It's a big one. This one from the University of Texas. He's already got offers from A&M, TCU, Arizona State, Hawaii, which I've always thought, man, if I got an offer from Hawaii, it's over for me.
Absolutely.
But that's just. But I'm also not like a athlete. I don't know if you can tell. But anyway, this is a guy in Cole Houston, the Frisco tackle, who's going to be a junior this upcoming season, that I know caught your eye at the Next Level Athlete Texas Top 100 Showcase back in January.
Well, he's been on fire in recruiting over the last few weeks. Actually, Hawaii was his first big offer, and there's a Texas connection there with Coach Graham, now the head coach at Hawaii, so it's no surprise to see the Rainbow Warriors coming into the Lone Star State a little bit more aggressively there. But that was just the tip of the iceberg for him because he quickly added TCU, Arizona State, Texas A&M, only to add Texas in the last 7 days. So huge things happening for Cole on the recruiting trail here in the spring. We would always say the spring evaluation period. It was the evaluation-less period this spring, but it hasn't slowed his recruitment. And what I really like to see is you're looking at him here on the highlights from the Next Level Athlete Texas Top 100 in Dallas, and you can see his frame and potential and how he moves. But when you put that with this highlight tape, it gives you the whole picture here. And this is exactly the reason why these evaluation tapes have been so powerful this season, because we were able to have this camp back in January, and guys like Cole were able to come out and show this on tape and show coaches what they look like in person now that colleges have a chance to evaluate this film, and then put that together with his highlights, and you can quickly see why he's taken off. He can play any position up front. He plays tackle at Frisco, but he'll probably be an interior guy, guard, or center once he gets to the next level. But it's a little bit too early. He still has 2 years of high school left to make a final determination on what position fits him best.
Let me ask you a question. This is a guy who obviously plays tackle, and I think I've asked you this before, but Frisco runs basically like a wing T.
Right.
They've started under Jeff Harbert. They've thrown a little bit more out of it now, and I think that you can maybe draw a straight line between that and the fact that they were a more explosive offense this past year. How much do recruiters take into account scheme whenever they're watching game film and as opposed to maybe when you're watching these one-on-one drills?
Well, what you have to take into consideration, we're a little bit spoiled here in Texas. There aren't as many teams that run the same type of offense in Frisco, but once you step outside this state's borders, you see more of these types of offenses across the country. So colleges are well-versed to evaluating guys that run this type of system. And I do think we'll see Frisco throw the ball a little bit more because they have a serviceable quarterback that can throw the ball in Corey Green. I mean, when you have that combination under center, you have a guy that can get the ball down the field and be accurate. I think it adds a whole new dimension to the Frisco offense. And really, they were one of the – I don't want to call them a surprise team last year. They were one of the teams that came out of nowhere to really opened some eyes, and I think that they'll be just as good, if not better, this season.
Let's get to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week, again, fair number of choices we could have had here, but this is a guy who I will say is listed in the 2020 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football because I had to Google his name a couple of times to fact check it. It is Richmond Foster offensive tackle Reuben Fatheree. They call him Deuce. Deuce Fatheree has pulled the trigger. He is heading to Texas A&M, and he picked them over a number of different offers. This is the guy that we have as the 4th-rated tackle in the Hot 100 on TexasFootball.com/recruiting. He was the size of this guy, the frame on this guy is, I don't want to put any sort of undue expectations on this guy. But when you hear 6'8", 285, you're thinking, okay, this is a guy with a legit chance to make the league.
It's such a loaded offensive line class. And you think about Deuce Fatheree being around like J.T. Barrett was around at Ohio State. He's been playing since he was a freshman at Richmond Foster starting. This guy has really grown up in that program, but he emerged on the scene his 9th grade year looking like a 6'7", 6'8" power forward on the football team, and now he's really grown into what I think is a true NFL upside offensive tackle. And head coach Sean McDowell there gave us a great quote. If you want to read the article there at TexasFootball.com/recruiting about Fatheree being a unicorn, a guy who is so unique at the position with such an upside that you can really see the value of what Texas A&M is getting in this guy who could be a true left tackle blindside protector and a kid that you may hear his name called in the first round of the NFL draft one day if things progress how we think they could. He's the number 12 overall prospect in the state, which tells you how highly we view this commitment for A&M.
It's huge. And by the way, this was not their only big commitment. They also got a commitment from another Deuce.
Right.
Deuce Harmon. This from
Deuce Week.
the Denton Geyer defensive back. Nice little haul here for the Aggies.
Yeah, and I think Deuce Harmon has, if maybe one of the best defensive back highlight tapes in the entire state. This kid flies to the football and likes to deliver a big hit, and he has the coverage skills of a cornerback. So good week for Texas A&M in the state of Texas, picking up 2 huge 4-star commitments, both rated in the top 50 at DCTF.
He can literally just manhandle guys with one arm.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's unfair to be watching this highlight reel right now.
No, he's a monster.
And what you have to take into consideration, I think that's a one-game highlight reel.
Yeah.
It's not even like his highlight package. It's one game.
It's Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete, here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. All right, let's get to our underclassman of the week. Our underclassman of the week is a guy whose name you're going to need to know, as you probably already know him. Southlake Carroll 2022 quarterback Quinn Ewers. He has been unveiled as the number 1 prospect in Texas high school football and is a DCTF 5-star prospect according to our own Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete. This is a guy who in his first year as a starter last year was spectacular. He's already got 28 offers from pretty much everyone you would expect. There were 32 other prospects who picked up 4-star status this week, and you mentioned are on the 5-star watch list. So I guess my question, why Quinn Ewers?
Well, I mean, he really brings a lot of similar qualities to the table. To me, as I've evaluated both guys in person, is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 overall prospect in the nation, the number 1 quarterback in the nation, and I think Quinn Ewers, as he develops at Southlake Carroll, has that type of potential. You're not talking about a guy who is only in the running to be the number 1 player in the state of Texas. He could literally be the number 1 player in the entire country.
Wow.
Big arm, quick release, heady leader, and I look back to that Denton Geyer game last year as the telltale game for me on the trajectory of Quinn Ewers' high school career. He went on the road, first big district game, and really that was the game that decided the district championship. And things didn't start off all that great for Ewers and Southlake in that game. Geyer came out throwing blows and pulled out to an early lead, and it looked a little bit shaky for the Dragons. But Quinn Ewers really put the team on his back in that game. I think he ended up with 440 total yards and scored 6 touchdowns in that game, including a 70-yard touchdown run up the sidelines late in the game that kind of cemented it for Southlake. That opened my eyes to the potential that Ewers had, and we had saw some stuff before he put on the pads, 7-on-7 with Southlake Carroll, camps and viral videos where he's throwing the ball over 70 yards and showcasing his arm. But because this is a kid who got an offer from Ohio State before he even suited up for the 9th grade team. We had been hearing about him, but to see that's what it was. Seeing what he brought to the table in person is kind of what separated out Ewers for me.
He is certainly a stud there in the latest in a long lineage of Southlake Carroll quarterbacks who are going to be playing at the next level. Finally, let's wrap it all up with our Recruit of the Week. Our Recruit of the Week is Fort Worth All Saints 2021 offensive lineman James Brockermeyer. You thought I knew where I was going, didn't you? No, it's James Brockermeyer. He's named his top 4. This is, of course, the brother of Tommy Brockermeyer. Both of them big-time prospects. James is a center. He has named his top 4. Texas, Alabama, Auburn, and LSU making the cut. He had visits canceled because of the pandemic, but this is a guy who I know that you are pretty high on, and we have him listed as the number 1 center in the state of Texas.
Yeah, and I really like the opportunity to talk about James Brockermeyer putting out his top 4 list, because a lot of people talk about his brother Tommy because he's the number 1 recruit in the state in the 2021 cycle. So now that he's put out his top 4 list, we get to shine the spotlight on what is quite honestly one of the top players in the state who just doesn't get talked about quite enough to me. I mean, that's just my opinion on that. James is a guy who really plays with a lot of passion on the football field, and he's a true center prospect, a guy who really understands that position, fires off the football very quickly, can get to the second level and take on linebackers, and I think he's going to be one of those guys who is a perfect fit in really any system. But it's interesting to note that he has 3 SEC teams and Texas in his Final 4. And to try to gauge if that is an indicator, of course, his father played at Texas, his brothers played at Texas. There's a huge Texas connection there. And the experts at both of those schools, the recruiting experts at Texas and at Alabama, are actually split on where he might end up. It's like 50-50 on where everyone thinks that he's really going to go. All the Alabama experts thinks he's going to play for the Crimson Tide, and all the Texas experts kind of think that he's going to play for the Longhorns. So it's one of those true guessing games on what James Brockermeyer is going to ultimately decide on where he wants to play college. But I will point out an interesting fact, and I don't know if this is a clue, and I know a lot of people feel like it could be a clue or an indication on where he may end up. He had 2 official visits scheduled to Alabama. He was going to take the first official visit to Alabama and the last official visit to Alabama because as a twin brother duo, they were able to take 2 official visits to the same school if they wanted to, and they picked Alabama to be that school.
Interesting. We're reading tea leaves here.
But the official visits are canceled now, so maybe what if he decides, hey, I'm going to take 2 official visits to Texas? That would really throw everybody for a
Well,
loop.
and it's really funny, too, when you ask the 2 brothers if they want to play together, because Tommy always absolutely says yes, and James he's kind of on the fringe about it. He says yes, but he also knows that it might not happen, and it's funny to hear the 2 of them give those differing opinions on that.
Well, I think it's interesting you say that, too, because it's very different for the brothers, because I think James is looking for a school that needs a center, and Tommy could really look for a school that needs a tackle or a guard because he could play multiple positions. So I think center is such a specialist position that it's a different type of fit for James than it is for Tommy. It's a tougher decision-making process when you're a center than when you're an OT in high school.
He's Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. Check out his final work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Powers, it's good to see you, man.
Man, it felt good to be back.
Good to be in the Power Zone?
Yeah, it's good to be in the Power Zone.
Love it.
I love
Thanks,
that.
Powers.
Thank you.